Welcome back. We are, don't interrupt me.
No, I'm gonna. This is episode 31 of the Slide In podcast. Those of you who may be astute observationists might notice we're not in our normal studio.
Yes, we are in Big River. Can we see that? Probably not.
I'll take a picture.
We're at my really good friend Darren Calhoun's shop in Du Bois, Wind River Float Trips.
Put a thumbs up.
Big
there.
Wind River Float Trips. Oops, get out of the way. Okay, here you go.
Cool.
I've never been in this shop. How long is this? 3 years? 4 years?
We've had the shop 4 years.
4 years. So you've all heard me talk a lot about fishing the wind with Darren and my favorite river in the world. So we're doing the upper. I've never done this section. Fished it yesterday. It was a blast. We in Du Bois, and we saw how many people? It was great. We rolled in for the bar. Every bar we went into, somebody watches the show.
Oh yeah.
And Mark and
Ethan and Stefan.
Steven.
I ran into a whole bunch of fish
Every
guys.
morning we've met people that were fish geeks. Stephen DeFold, I think, that was this morning. He was great. What a blast that guy was.
Yeah.
Trying to get him to switch over. He's been going to another shop. And so, but he's funny. He's hiking all over the place. We're driving back an hour on dirt roads to get to rivers we won't mention because nobody will ever do it, but who cares? It's secret to him.
Yep.
But it's been a blast. And so yesterday we floated probably the world record for me. I felt a little bit like I was in the, what's that, Revenant movie? Is that what it's called?
Yes, yeah.
And he floats 24 miles. Shit.
Except for a bear's claws, it's just his own flies coming back at him really fast.
Oh my God, yeah. I wore out about, 8 hours in, maybe. My shoulder went south on me. Holy shit, did I do some fly donations.
Yeah. If you want free flies, come fish the wind. You'll find them.
Shit. I mean, there's a wood pile down. I had world record thing for me. I threw up and missed. I missed my cast by 2 inches, and I hook a tree, flipped it over it, get it back, go back in on a roll cast, hit another one, roll it off again, and just go screw it. And I unfolded it backwards and hit a rock and lost it.
Yeah. So
3 for 3.
So we were.
It was
running,
like all-time worst.
We were running 2 boats, and I'm filming in the back boat, and Kevin's rowing me down the river, and we just kept laughing watching Kelly, just fumbling around in the back of the boat. He found more wood I didn't know was possible. So.
Yes, it was not a good afternoon event for me.
But incredible river, super cool.
Oh God,
Yeah,
I've said it a million times, my favorite. And
there's only one way to get on it, and that's through Darren's shop, which is Big Wind River. Big Wind Float Trips. Big Wind River Float Trips.
Why so complicated? Is that to make dumb guys like me look dumber?
That is exactly right.
It's a great shop, great people, great guides, everything.
And then what's in Thermop? Is it still?
Wind River Canyon.
It's still Wind River Canyon. Is it Wind River Canyon Whitewater?
And fly fishing.
And fly fishing.
Yeah.
Again, really long, but it's the only game in town.
Yeah.
So that's the place you go. So.
Couple quick housekeeping things. One, last week we were mentioning if you want to fish Yellowstone National Park, Mickey Wooten is the best. And Mickey came up and stopped me in the parking lot. And he's like, he said, "Hey, I listen. Thanks so much for mentioning one thing. I don't work for Madison River Outfitters anymore."
Yeah, he
works for BSA.
And as I said it, you gave me the skunk eye, and I was thinking, I think I missed something here.
Yeah, well, it's hard when
but you give me a freaking skunk guy. Yeah, he's been at the same place, but it won't matter if you can get him. He's a blast.
And then kind of on that same note, BSA is throwing the 2nd annual edition of the Wretched Mess Festival in early September in West Yellowstone.
That was really fun last year.
We're going to be doing a live podcast there. So if you've got questions that we keep skipping or can't get to, come ask them in person there. It'll be super fun. They've got casting competitions, tons of speaking.
And we talked a lot about the shops in West. We were talking about Bucky and other things. And all those people, it's in West Yellowstone. It's a great opportunity to go. You go for the afternoon or one event. It's not like an all, weekend thing. It's a day.
Yep.
And you get, or even if they move it into having an event the day before, it's not an all day thing. You can just go have a blast, have live music, lots of speakers and tires, a lot of tires.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the Cravens and Brian O'Keefe, possibly
yeah,
Ray Jeff.
there's going to be a bunch of people, and they have casting. It's really fun stuff there. Great pond to cast on, but it's not something you got to dedicate a whole week to or something like that. It's it's just such a fun, and it's a great time to be fishing the park. We talked about fishing the park last week or the week before, and it's a great time to fish the park. And the events are just kind of down times anyway, so it'll be a blast if you haven't been to it.
Yeah, so stop by there.
In the old days, West Yellowstone was like the hub. It was always like TU or FFF, well now it's IFFF, had their annual thing there. And it was in the fall. That's how I started coming. I came out to that all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like the who's who was there, just cool. I mean, I remember I sat one time with Lee Wolf and Lefty and God, just who's who of who, and nobody cares. Just a bunch, everybody's hanging out.
Yeah.
Nobody,
It's a bunch of fish.
and it's the same way. It's all a bunch of fish heads, and so go if you can. It'll be a blast.
Just on another note, some of it was kind of funny. We show up yesterday morning to the fly shop, meet our guides, and meet Darren, and we walk in here. And
the girls were mean to me.
Yeah, the girl's sitting at the front desk. They've got
Evie,
one of
Evie?
Kelly's original videos.
Yeah,
on the,
yeah. And
on
Kevin
the
told me,
TV
you have a
behind
good
us.
jaw.
Yeah.
You have a good jaw. I said,
So
what happened to it?
I've got some.
Evie made
video
fun of me.
I'll throw
Or
it in
was
here
it?
of Kelly watching himself.
Where are
It's
they?
kind of funny.
Yes, they didn't get.
Run to get coffee, I think.
They didn't have honey for my tea. Don't they know who I am?
Darren sells these great mugs here. They're by a company that Kelly's not really on board with. I don't mind.
Can't see.
I think those
yes.
are great mugs.
I do
they
think
keep
it's the
your stuff
single
warm.
best mug in history.
Yeah.
Just don't think. Don't think. Yes, it's a
yeah,
Yeti.
they're
We do
super
love
cool.
you, Yeti. I just like to make fun of you. Don't.
They've got a great design. Super cool. Who did
Yeah,
that?
this is badass. Check this out.
Remember who did that design?
What's the gal's name?
The logo?
These things
Yeah.
are cool. Those are beaded hats that the local tribal gal does here. What's her name?
It's, oh gosh, I'm blanking her name.
Well,
We
think
have
of it in a
another gal
minute.
that works in our shop. It's her sister.
Very cool though.
We'll put it in after.
It's a Patagucci hat.
Yeah.
And we'll put it in later.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Cool
one.
hats.
I'm getting one for Mel.
Cool
Maybe
everything.
she'll actually row me again. God.
You've been on the hot seat, huh?
Nah, she hasn't rowed me in all year. I mean,
All right.
maybe once or twice.
So let's jump into some questions. This one was sent to slide in Instagram from CamFJ60. He said, "Hi Kelly and crew. What do you think about Northwest
Are you the crew?
Energy?" Yeah, I'm probably crew. Maybe Johnny, Chris, Matt, everybody else.
Oh, those guys?
What do you think about Northwestern Energy keeping the flows out of Hebgen Dam at 400 CFS? It's odd considering that the lake is half a foot higher than the 20-year average and less than 2 feet from completely full.
2 inches, actually. What do I think about it? I think there's a lot of regulations in this world, and that's a FERC license. And the FERC license, it's the most unique that I know of reservoir in the country. Their FERC license is predicated not on hydro, there's no hydro demand, and there's no agricultural demand. It is 100%, Hebgen Lake is 100% a reservoir for cooling our river. And so it sucks that it's that low. I don't think it's a detriment this early because we still had a lot of water coming from the creeks. The fishing's great. The one thing it's a detriment is it's advancing our hatches, maybe 2 weeks, and water's lower. But they have a point they have to get to, and it's not 2 foot, it's 2 inches from full. But it's actually, the last time I looked, it was 4 inches from full. But with the temperatures we're having, the evaporation rate, it's probably almost equal to I think inflow was what, 700, 800, something like that. The outflow was 390 last I looked, which is just ridiculously low. Good news is all those rainbow, they're all Elvin, everything's capable of sustaining. They're not killing off a lot of stuff there with the dry docking in that upper river. It's probably safe there. But it is one thing, huh? Yeah, I don't think there's any spawning.
All those beds are completely dry.
Yeah, but there's nothing on those beds. That's just, the eggs are all way below that.
Okay.
And those eggs are already developed to the point that they're probably all swim up by now. And so, but the only thing I have a real bone of contention with on it is because that river, and it's predicated on, I don't remember exactly. I think if the river hits at Black Ford, if it's 3 consecutive days at 72 or 1 at 74, they have to flush the river. And that's what it's for. That's why we have that incredible fishery. It flushes the river and it cools it. That's what it's for. The reservoir is to cool the river. And it has very detrimental things to them. If they get to a certain level, then they get really big fines. And there's also, I understand, which I didn't know, Johnny told me, there also it's finable if they don't get the reservoir to a certain level by a certain date. That one was new to me. And so, but the good news is it's full enough that we'll have water all summer to go and be able to cool the river. And so, and ideally, we would never be put into Hudal, which is another thing, which is FWP, which I think is a total crock of shit, where they put us on Hudal, and that year was one of the coolest years for the river in history. And that was for supposed angler displacement. That is the stupidest thing on earth. Like all of a sudden people were gonna rush to our river like from the Missouri or something. So we're gonna get, because you can fish till noon, right? This Hudal thing. And I'm probably the turd in the punch bowl on this one, but I don't believe in that heat killing fish. There's no studies I've ever seen that say that temperature will harm fish. They just go dour. They go very low and they do not eat. I don't give a shit. You could throw a fistful of night crawlers at them. They don't eat. I dealt with in Michigan. Most states don't deal with this because they all know. If we yesterday were fishing really, really hard. Darren's unbelievable fisherman. I'm doing my best to do something. When fish go off, they go off. You don't catch them. I don't give a shit what you throw. I mean, we were talking about a bass show the other day. Just watched the Elite, I think it was Elite. I can't remember what I was watching just the other day. And I said that these tournaments are won by ounces. These are 25 of the best anglers in the world. And nobody can catch a fish for 3 hours. Nobody.
Right.
Best in the world. There's $300,000 on the line. One guy's behind the other guy, 4 freaking ounces. You think this guy's not trying to catch fish? They don't want to eat, they don't eat. Yesterday, Darren and I are floating down. All of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. What did we get? 4 or 5 fish in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
After going 2 hours without...
Yeah.
I went through, of course, Braeden brought this up at breakfast, which was really nice of him. It's called elder abuse. I went through 19 flies. He said, "Did you count the 9 you left in the trees?" And I'm like, shit. I still have the bot. I'll show it when we do the thing, my gut pile from yesterday. I mean, I'm going through, and as usual, the classic, cougar comes in and just starts crushing it. And then it goes off. And we, on the streamer bite, Darren kept doing, well, it actually got better for him in the afternoon. After we were close to the end, they started eating that. What'd you have on?
The peanut.
Oh, yeah. Peanut, circus peanut dry.
Yeah, it's Dornans, right?
Dornans, yeah.
Dornans.
Yeah, well, Dornans.
He got,
It's a good bug.
that bastard, he just comes up with such great, that's what, we could have stopped with all salmon flies with the water walker for history.
Right.
I mean, shit, the guy is so good.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
No,
He's such a nice guy, too.
I haven't met him.
Yeah. If you haven't fished it,
Yeah, especially in the stone
missing.
fly world.
Yeah, in the stone world. Well, in that
The foam
and that,
world.
the foam world. That's that peanut, that circus peanut in the park. Man, if you fish the park without that thing, you're just
Really, any like cutthroat waters. I mean,
Any cut.
yellow foam and cutthroat.
that's
Just
something I got to argue or talk to Darren about, sir. Told me that there weren't many brown trout in this upper stretch, and that's all we caught. We killed them. We crushed it. I actually think I might have killed one yesterday. That one that bit the shit out of me, he was bleeding pretty hard.
yeah, Kelly's got some scarred up hands.
Yeah,
Looks like
my
he went
fingers,
nine rounds.
all this shit went in the back. I'm not a real fan of fishing out of rafts because I'm old and twisting like this and doing that. And I hit a few rocks my fault. Whenever you get thrown in a boat, it's your fault. You're supposed to look.
Yeah.
You know, but I got my head up my ass most of the time looking for fish.
It's true.
And I'm thinking of all the stuff, you're jumping in and out of the boats and, and I trip on a rock here and there. The only thing that hurts on me today is my finger from sticking in that brown's mouth.
Yeah, you're bleeding pretty good.
It's killing. Well, they do give you a little bit of infection.
Yeah.
Not like a pike. Man, reach your finger in a mouth.
Chum.
Pike mouth. Chum?
Yeah.
They bad?
Oh yeah, they call it
I told you, I don't touch chum.
Fish finger.
Remember I told you, my number one show, Fly Fish TV, I never caught a fish. We had lots of fish on. I'm like, chum, I just break my fly off.
Yeah. Sometimes
Gross piece of shit. I don't want to touch them ugly, pussy things.
Never mind. All right,
Only
new
the
question.
fat ones.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that. Hopefully our listeners didn't. New question. This one's from Shane Pierce. It says, podcast question. Threw a triple dungeon last weekend from my boat. Looked like a small drowned cat. My buddies were basically laughing at it and me. But right when everyone was cracking jokes, a pig exploded on it. I missed it, of course. Do you ever fish triple Ds? Where and when?
I fish triples less than I used to, but on the white, I fished them. That picture of, in my book, there's a picture of Polly with this giant brown trout. She's a really cool, she worked for us for a couple of years, really cool chick, and she, really good caster. And I remember that day we were floating, and every time there was, I forget who was with us, somebody else was with us, and I'd throw one in, and she'd throw one in and be like, that much further? She goes, how do you like that? Every time. And it's a triple dungeon, and she cracked a giant on it. Beautiful fish. I fish it in where I tend to fish it more in really big water, and it's a handful. That's any of the triples.
Bug to me.
Yeah, it's any triples. It's a handful, but it's
a big fly.
It throws a giant profile. It swims really quick. As big flies go, it's pretty light actually. As big flies go, not quite as light as like a kill whitey, but it is a big fish. They do get on it. Yeah. I mean, but you pay for it a little bit. It's not a pleasant, any big fly, any fly that, when you start talking about having to step to 8 weights, it means you're committed to the project. You are there for a reason. And I don't necessarily, I mean, I was listening to Chad and Alex on Chad's podcast, and he was saying something about how Whitlock said that, it takes a special fish to do that. But all fish will eat a 3-inch fly every day. And I've always subscribed to that, but there's times when, like we got in that piston match last week or 2 weeks ago about, the only difference between you and everybody else is your fly. And that means if everybody's running the same, if they all run a triple dungeon, you got to do something different. And maybe it doesn't, and that's something that I think we get wrong a lot. I don't know if I'm the one that did it for why people believe this, but going bigger means bigger fish. I mean, that's not true. You go in and out of size just like you do color.
Yeah. So for example, I remember hearing Kelly told me about his buddy Bill Erdman, who I've met now. Who's we talk about him a lot.
He's on the Fly Show. Is he next episode?
He'll be the second episode this season whenever we decide to release him, which will probably be soon. But Bill, Kelly told me Bill had cracked, I think, 6 fish over 10 pounds in the dam hole between the lakes. Now, I think that was over 15 years ago when he got all those fish. But they're all at night.
They did it the other night.
Did they get a good one up there?
They had 2. Michael thought that I think he said he thought it was between 8 and 10.
Yeah. Wow.
They didn't land it. Got it at the feet, and he was messing around.
Yeah.
But with these guys, that's still special to them, but they've caught plenty of them.
Yeah.
I believe it was over 30 inches. But that's a 10-pounder.
Yeah. So,
but it was also in like a month.
Right. Yeah. So giant fish, right? And I hear that, and the first thing I do is I went and bought every pattern of triple dungeon or menage a dungeon, which is just a little bit different.
And actually, I think the menage is what Polly got hurt, and what I fish more. I fish the menage more than I do the triple.
They're pretty similar. The menage
just a different body.
Yeah. So I bought every pattern we had. I went up between the lakes right at dusk. I was throwing the white one, and my first cast, it got obliterated by a 7-inch trout. And that's about a 7-inch fly, right?
Some of them are, 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, and so if you think that fly is too big, I mean, brown trout are predators. It was a tiny fish and blew it up. I mean, broadsided it. So just, same thing like you said, colors. I mean,
Yeah.
Sizes, profiles, they're important as well. Sometimes they're on the big shit, sometimes they're.
Yeah, when they're in it, but do tend to have better luck in lower light situations, dirty water situations, last light situations. By the way, Bill fishes from 10 till 3 in the morning.
You were saying Bill fishes nighttime?
Yeah, he goes when they're eating. So
if you want to get giant fish, fish at night. It's scary.
Yeah, look at those. Yeah, look at those kids up in. I think it's in Alberta. I can't remember those two brothers that fish the lakes that crack double back-to-back worlds. I think rainbows, and they're fishing. They're gear guys, but I mean they're fishing. I wish there wasn't so much delineation between gear and fly. It's just we always say gear guys, right? We're all fishing.
Right. Yeah, everybody's fishing.
But we want to be fly guys for whatever reason.
So another thing that
have more fun.
This wasn't really a specific question from somebody, but something I feel like we should talk about because it is salmon fly season on the Madison. I think that we should just give a little.
Which is really early.
It is very early, yeah, because of the low water thing. Water's warmer than it should be. It might be a tough year across the state for the Freestones and everyone else that doesn't have water.
Unless something happens.
As far as
bad
stone
fire
flies,
year, all that shit.
Why don't we just give a little kind of how-to, what you should be doing, what's the process we run. I've been out fishing them constantly, doing a lot of morning missions, doing a lot of late evening stuff, sometimes all day. And there's kind of a system, that I've been working on, but a lot of it's heavily influenced by our guides, by Kelly and Johnny.
Not me so much. I'm not as
much.
Johnny is.
Johnny for sure.
Johnny is
big
just
time.
an absolute. Got a monster 2 days ago. I mean, for me, the salmon fly. It's the greatest thing on earth when it happens. There's just nothing better. It's why our river is so famous. That's what drew everyone into our river. And in the old days, you go anywhere in the U.S., I don't care where, people kind of tended to show up for about a 2-week windows. And they chased, even way back when, they knew when everybody's always looking for the biggest fish. And the salmon flies are definitely going to bring your biggest fish up. Yeah. But as Randy Brown said in his, what was that thing we were reading? Is that an Instagram post?
No, I
can't remember, whatever. But he was saying how hard it was because so many people fish it and they've been stung so many times, which behooves you to get your ass out of bed or stay up late if you go midday. Salmon flies are nocturnal and we get lucky to see them on the water. And all their movement, though, is in their flight. It's great when you see them come back and hit the water egg laying, which is pretty rare. But for, early morning, and I mean, when you start talking, you're either mid-river or you are 1 centimeter from the bank. And everybody thinks they can just plop a big fly out there, just like with streamers. Well, just throw the big fly out there and they're going to come and get it. Such bullshit. It is 100% technique. It is, you get luck. Everybody gets lucky. Everybody's got a story about some giant fish. But on the Madison, which is a really, really used river, especially during that 2-3 week window, if your A game isn't being able to tuck that fly within literally rub rocks and grass, you're shit out of luck on them giant fish.
Putting it under the bank.
Yeah, you rub it or you're under it.
Yeah.
And you do not get, and you go with Johnny or any of these guys, I don't care who you go with, and you plop one out there 4 inches from the bank and you think you're a superstar, you're going to get a yawn. It has to rub the rock or go under the grass. And those big fish are really, really hip to us. Imagine 125 boats a section going, all throwing the same 3 or 4 flies.
Right.
And one of the guys, Randy talked about the old days fishing sofa pillows, which nobody knows what is anymore. Being able to do a lot of things you couldn't do now.
Yep.
And it, and he went through all the refusals. It's really good. We're gonna if I can find it, I'll repost it so you
actually,
can read it.
I want to read a chunk.
Go ahead, read it. I thought it was hilarious.
So this is
it's a guide, one of the longest standing guides on the Madison River.
Yep. So this is Randy Brown.
I think his number's like 9 or something. My number's 1,400 something. His number's like 6 or 9
so he's been around for a while.
3. I don't know.
He's probably seen some changes.
Yeah, I think it's a single digit. Mine's 1,400.
So this is on Randy Brown's Madison Fly Fisher. We'll post a link to it because I thought it was a great read. It's really well written. It's funny. I enjoyed it a lot. But he says, he starts talking about a video where a couple local guides were filming the salmon fly hatch, and it's called Big Bugs, Big Misses. And it says, the guys work for a shop in town. They're throwing big dry flies at the banks, blah, blah, blah. They're getting tons of refusals. And he says, no human faces were shown, and the voices were run through a changer app to sound like a water buffalo in heat every time a fish made a move at the fly.
That was funny.
One of the comments on Instagram offered, but Kelly Gallup, spelled your name wrong, said that fish never miss a fly. Like most Instagram trout fishers, the commenter was clueless. Kelly Gallup, of course, is widely known in the fly fishing world with a gazillion followers, blah, 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 blah. Kelly has forgotten more about fly fishing for trout than the commenter and the boys in the boat will ever know. Kelly's premise is that trout seldom miss a fly, and he's right. It rarely happens, but they refuse fake flies all the time, especially large, bulky bundles of deer hair, foam, plastic, or rubber meant to imitate Pteronarcis californica, the salmon fly. So he goes on. I mean, it's a great article. You should go read it. Not just that it was, pumping Kelly's brakes, but he talks about this phenomenon. Like, I went out and fished a day with Will Phelps, who some of you guys might know. He's a big YouTube guy, and his girlfriend Erica. And I kept talking about my previous days where Parker and I, who's one of our guides, we went 1 for 15 on. It's hard to even call them eats because a lot of them aren't eats, right? They show on the fly. They're not eating it. Mm-hmm. And then, with Will and Erica, I mean, we might have rolled 15, 18 really quality fish where you're seeing, you're either seeing the mouth, you're seeing the fish. We had a number of them actually eat it, hook up to them, and then lose them. But we had a lot where they come up and they push it with their mouth. Or they grab the fly, but they don't actually eat it. They take it down and you can still see the white foam or whatever's on top. And then the ones who, the ones you generally land are the ones that actually swallow the thing.
Commitment.
Yes. So there's a lot of different types of eats, and I think Randy hit the nail on the head here with, I never fished it in the old days, but I'm sure back then the fish weren't nearly as weary of the fake foam.
Well, they got hip to it. There wasn't any peep.
Right.
It's easier. I mean, if you only get hooked once a week, it's one thing. If you get, and when I said that about they'd never miss. When they want to eat it, they aren't missing it. That's the point. My point was people saying they were nipping the tail or he missed it, and they just don't miss ever. They're so accurate. I mean, they're looking for things that are alive and running, yes. Right? They make calculated and they hit. But they do that where they hit streamers too, where they'll close their mouth right before, or I've seen them shake them. I've seen them do a lot of shit, but they did not eat it to, eat it. And in the salmon fly world, it is probably twice as bad, maybe 4 times as bad, yeah. Where they come up, the inspection time they're not racing. If they race over to salmon fly, you couldn't get it away if you tried. Yep. If they want it, they're getting it.
Yeah, you ever heard of a toilet bowl? It happens.
Yeah,
really
just like instant. So we did it 22 years ago. Andy and I were out back, and we were feeding them live salmon flies, and they rejected over 90% of live ones.
Yeah. That are fluttering.
I'd break a wing on one and throw it in the water so it's got one wing doing this.
Don't call PETA.
Huh? Please do. Jackasses. So off they would go. I don't think anybody watching this is going to call PETA, but if they do, good. We don't send them our way. But the fish would come up and they would go, and I have my hand in the air because I keep remembering it, not very many people are watching this, but they would come up and literally push a fly, a live fly fluttering.
Yep.
push that son of a bitch up maybe a quarter of an inch.
Closed.
And ride it like it's a circus trick.
Yep.
And then go back. Sometimes they go back and do that 2-3 times. It's right in the backyard, right?
And you see that fish go fully vertical, right?
Oh, yeah. Tap, tap, drop down, think about it, go downstream and do the same shit again and never eat it. And it's like, they don't do that with Goldens, by the way. They eat freaking Goldens. Yeah, they eat. I think salmon flies taste like shit or something. Because
Will
they just
when he said it tastes like a salad.
Salad?
Yeah.
Makes sense. That's what they eat. And so, I don't know, but they don't pass Goldens. But if you're not on, like you were saying, if everything isn't right, and when everything's right, you still have a very low percentage of a giant making a mistake.
Yep.
He still comes out, I've said it about my streamers a million times, no matter how great I think my fly looks, it still doesn't really look like shit to it. It is not real. No matter, your brain tells you, the whole premise of my Cripples and Spinners book was that when I looked at the spinner on the water, I'd been told this is what the imitation looks like, and it is perfect. And it was so far from right, it was unbelievable. And so now you take something that's a, 3/6 or, eighth of an inch long up to maybe a half inch, 3/4 of an inch long, and there's not much inspection. You take a 5-inch fly, or in this case, a salmon fly that's 2 inches, 2.5 inches long, they come underneath it, your brain says, oh, this fly looks just like this. I love water walkers. I mean, I think it's the greatest ever, right? Doesn't look like shit in reality to a real one.
Right.
And so they come under it, they get this inspection time. Big fish aren't racing. It's like we talk about 13-inch streamers or 13-inch streamer fish. That's the 13-inch, I'm sorry. Those little fish, and I always equate it to a 13-year-old boy running down barefoot on gravel, and he'll eat anything that he can grab and run past, in the house, just chow, right? Yep. Dumb. Yep. Stupid. It's like having Jacob at the house. I hope you're listening to this. God dang, I've never raised a teenage boy. It was like, I told him about 5 times, I talk about you in my podcast a lot. Yeah. You do? No, I just use you as a reference. You're the dumb boy that's a 13-inch trout that'll eat anything. Slam the door. Gotta go.
He's got a mouth on him, my goodness.
He's funny or shit.
Yeah, no, he is. He's really funny. First time, it's real quick, the first time I met him, I never met him before. I didn't know who he was, right? I walk in, he's tying flies at Kelly's desk. Kyler starts mouthing off to me as is tradition. I go, I said something about, Kyler, why don't you just shut the hell up? And Jacob just pops up. He goes, can't you get your point across without cursing? And I went, I don't like you. I don't know you, and I don't like you.
19 years.
No, he was funny.
But it's all reference to the fact that juvenile fish they're just juveniles. They're teenage boys. They're dumb, right? And so we all were. And we all ate a lot of shit you don't eat when you get older. It's just like a fish. But that inspection time, after... Randy's point was after you've been hooked, a bajillion times, every time you look at something, you're saying, is it worth it, And so, and when you start talking, I've always talked about the degree of change as things get bigger, the inspection time. You take a trico that's, 3/16 of an inch long or whatever, not a lot of, you can be 50% wrong and not have that much difference. Right. Now you take a 5-inch fly, or in this case, a 3-inch, 2.5, 3-inch salmon fly, there's a lot of inspection. Tons. And there's a lot of things you can look up and go, nice try, dumbass. Yeah. See you next year.
Yeah. No, I remember my first year fishing salmon flies on the Madison. I was out with Jeremy. He's just he's such a fishy dude. He's our shop manager for a really long time. And he's rowing me, and I see this gold bar under my fly, just floating downstream with it, matching its pace. I mean, its mouth had to be 3 inches from it, just looking at it. And Jeremy goes, He goes, fucking twitch it, do something. What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I thought he was going to eat it. And, the fish just slowly turns off and goes down.
Yeah, twitch it.
And, so, I mean, they get pretty weary. They get pretty wise to it. And I do think a lot of the time they come up and they touch it.
Mm-hmm. All the time.
I'm sure they can tell,
all the time.
It's foam, it's whatever.
And those things, that was a case we were talking about something about, I think it was last week when I went on that rant about I think it was about that when the guy said that, but my point was just to sell flies or some shit like that. But if you, and I said, if you're not actively moving your dry flies, you're probably leaving fish. And there's a time and place, like running foam. Twitch, 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 twitch. Yep. There's less inspection time, and it's a trigger.
Yep.
But there's only half the time you can trigger a fish, especially on a salmon fly.
Yeah.
I mean,
so why don't we get
you
into
can or cannot, and you'll never know what it is, because one day they'll eat a twitch and one day they won't.
So why don't we get into the playbook of how to fish these things? And I've been working on this kind of my strategy, and like I said, it's a culmination of, Johnny, Parker, Daniel Bragg, Chris, Jeremy, Dan Green, all these guys, Chuck, Kyler, Jake. I mean, everybody I fish with, I try to watch what they're doing and see what works and put things together. So let's start with flies. I think it's beneficial to have a couple different patterns and a couple different sizes in those patterns. And what I like to see in the different types of patterns are flies that sit high in the water, flies that sit low in the water, black body flies, more of orange or maybe a brown bodied fly. So you've got a couple different colors.
On that, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Any guide worth his salt carries markers with them.
Yep.
And you'll get a feeling that, and most of it in the old days, not old days, just a few years ago, generally you started with there's days when they'll eat that just ridiculously fluorescent orange shit.
Like
right?
that Rio, what's that Rio, the giant one?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Not
the flash as the
It's
huge, it's bright orange. There's days
there was another one that was like a rubbery orange that just, some days would just kill it.
Yeah.
Or some days they're getting too much inspections, too many looks. And I think a lot of this has to do with like season too. When they're first here, you can twitch the hell out of them, and you can elicit strikes on them.
Yep.
It doesn't work when there's thousands, after they've seen thousands. Right. For me, it doesn't. But the other thing about the marker thing, it's just kind of a guide trick. If guide's worth of shit. To me, when a guy say something like that, obviously I'm friends with more guides than most people. And there's guys that work really hard for you, and there's guys that don't. All right, might be better to say work hard for themselves, because if you're out there just rowing the boat and you don't give a shit, you're past tense anyway. If you're out there wanting to figure it out, like Johnny and the rest of the guys and Scotty and the rest, you will see they have little nuances. And one of them is they will have not a palette of markers, but they will have several shades of colors, and they'll take a fly and they will just marker the belly, maybe to tone it down just a little, maybe stripe something. Something will give them a hint that let's just try this.
Yep.
And it's just, the guys who don't say it's either going to work or it isn't, you may be right. Yeah. You may be right, it may not, but a little effort, if nothing else, it keeps you engaged.
Right.
On those days when nothing will eat and you will do nothing to change it, in my book, you're washed up.
Yep.
You're just, or never had it in you to start with. Yep. So that to me is exactly what you said. And knowing when that high riding fly, and I've had it, and I'm not a junkie on the hatch, because I'm usually, for most of my life, I was in the shop.
Yep.
I wasn't out in those prime times. But I always find a low rider and a high rider, you've got times of days, and you got wind events and things. I like in high winds. I kind of like when I can twitch around a little bit and move, let it bounce on the water.
Egg droppers, right? When they're flying and dumping eggs.
And so there's a million nuances that we couldn't cover, and I don't even think Johnny could.
No.
Johnny is such a junkie on this hatch and has so many little his own secrets. But it comes down to, again, effort. You've got a low rider and a high rider. You got a bright day fly and a dark day fly. You got egg drop flies. You got spent flies, like sometimes you like
not any
sunk
different than
flies.
streamers, right? You've got your profiles, your
Exactly.
colors, your sizes.
Exactly.
To try to figure out
one
what
of the flies is Nick's sunk stone, which was to me back in the day, that was the first innovation ever. Because it was a fly that was dressed to lay in the water. Right? It's the most simple fly on earth. No rubber legs, none of that shit. I'm surprised no one didn't rubber leg the Nick sunk stone and call it their own. But it was just deer hair stacked, like 4 or 5 stacks on the top, and the body's orange and laid right down in the water.
So that's kind of covering flies pretty well. As far as, I think types of water is probably the most important thing when it comes to salmon flies, maybe just fishing in general. But understanding where your fish are going to be at what time of day. So I used to only target banks, right? Try to be under the bank as far as I could, and I'm generally looking for banks that have water moving on them. There's got to be a conveyor belt, right? Otherwise, there's no food coming to the fish. Otherwise, they're just laid up there kind of searching. And so
it's hard to describe that water.
Yeah,
because all water, some really fast water will go under there too.
But that's where I started fishing more this year. When I was out with Parker, I said, what do you think about this bank? Do you think it's too fast? He goes, God, no. Once I got a 22 there. He goes, I'll show you. Yeah. And he cracked about an 18 off that bank. And it's ripping water under.
Yesterday, we were running the thing. That's what I'm saying. You got to clarify the fact that it's not just water running, and it doesn't have to just be speed. It has to go with a flow through it.
Yes.
Right? It has to convey what you're asking it to do.
Yeah.
Just like yesterday on that, the fastest bank, the biggest banks, brought the most fish up.
Yep.
Which, to me, I would not, in the streamer world, I don't really usually find those as effective. But
there were stoneflies, right?
There were stoneflies. Right? That's the point. There was a lot of flies.
Yes.
Drakes and flies and caddis, and there's the conveyor belt, and there's the fish over there.
So they're gonna follow their food, right? And then I think time of day is a huge part of this. And I was just talking with Johnny about this. He was telling me they cracked a couple really big fish right on the banks. 2 inches was too far off. I said that's very different than my experience yesterday. All of our big fish came off bank on either the bottom of the trough or the first shelf off bank where there's moving water. And he said, well, what time of day did you fish? Well, we put on at about 11:30 a.m. He goes, exactly. Those fish will move off bank when the sun's high or when those bugs aren't hatching. It's a nocturnal hatch, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're fishing really early in the morning before the sun's up, maybe even a dark day when those bugs are actively hatching, you go to where
they're drying off themselves, right? They're becoming adults.
They crawl out, they
get thrown in. They get all kinds of shit, right? They get wind, fall in, whatever. They're leaving.
Yep.
But, I mentioned in the beginning, you're fishing banks or mid-river. I frequently find that I go behind where the boats are, because they tend to. I've said it in my videos or my PowerPoints. And I remember that one slide where I draw the red lines behind the boat, where the boats go, and there's one yellow line where you get out to go pee.
Yeah.
But boats, people tend to follow their herd, and they go right down the same spots. And I find that I start getting mid-river exclusive, or right where the trail of boats goes. Because nobody ever messes with them right under the boat.
Nobody fishes the boat lines.
No. And so I think they figured that out. And our river's a bell curve. It goes down and up to the middle. So you've got 4 banks, really, each. And then you got the flats, right? And the mid-river, I say it for streamers, say it for dries, mid-river flats that have that, it's got to be, if you can't read this, how often have we said, this is the most important thing? If you can't read your water, you can't fish well. I don't give if you're the Steve Ray Jeff and you can cast across the continent, it doesn't matter. I'm always bitching about casting too far. If the line is 15 feet from you, it's 15 feet from you. And if you can't read that flat area where that gives them, always be in the middle of a river, and you'll see it. It'll be 10 to 30, 40 feet long at best, and it will be a spot where the current has changed, and the top of the water will change, it'll show it to you, and those fish will sit in the middle of that thing all day unmolested.
Yep.
But most people look at the next 50 feet below it is total dog shit. It's not gonna hold a fish. You have to read your water.
Yep.
You guys are good at reading water, right? You're on a river that's complicated.
Yep.
It's just tough, right?
Yes.
Watch Johnny go down the river and he'll just boat. It's like somebody's directing it. It'll just jump 40 feet instantly to the middle and hit a 10-foot section, goes right back like it's on some sort of conveyor. Down the river it goes, right?
If you did a tracking of John's.
Oh, Jesus.
If he floats a 6 mile section, he goes 10 miles.
Easy, easy.
Yeah,
and it's right here because he's identified it. And that's when you start playing that game where I got the conveyor belt over here, but it's midday, and well, they've moved off, and now every boat's here. Well, they're going over top every one of these. That's just fishing. Yeah. That's just breaking it all down. Yeah. What it gets me is that some people, they don't want to do that. They just want to go throw a fly and catch a fish.
Yeah.
I would just hang myself if I had to do that. If I had to quit figuring it out. Figuring it out is the only fun part.
It's the fun part.
It's like chicks, right? That's the fun part. Then you get married and they shoot you. Yeah. Just kidding. Well, except
also
the
these aren't hard and fast rules, right? But what this is it's a suggestion of all the different things that can happen, and you need to work through these. Like there's days where I'm sure at dawn they'll eat it off river, and there's days where high sun, middle of the day, they'll eat it on bank. Like it's
there's always an exception, but
there are exceptions.
You take that mostly early they're going to be on it.
I mean, it's just like streamer fishing, right? Bright fly, bright day. Well, that's a great starting place, and more often than not, that's true.
Exactly.
But it's not always
it's kind of full circling back to what Randy Brown said, where he said, as usual, you're not listening. I said that last week when I got pissed off about that guy. I said, sometimes I think people listening don't listen to a fucking thing. They only hear what they want to hear so they can voice their fucking opinion. Get your own podcast and we'll voice it. We'll all do it back. It'll be fun. Who cares? But what he was saying is this guy he never said that. He never said they never miss. It was an inference that you totally missed or ignored, right? And so all what you're saying about it's a starting point, well, if you only have 1 point, it's all a fucking starting point. That's why you go to more grades than first grade. Right? And I loved sixth grade, all 3 years of it. It was a blast. And I learned something every year, but that's the point. Keep moving. Don't be static in any. Yesterday I'm with Darren fishing, and I'm watching him. He was doing a hopper dropper style for a long time. Then he'd take it off, he just starts twitching. And then all of a sudden, he's just dead drifting. And he can't, and if you watched it, there's certain waters he dead drifted in, there's certain waters that he twitched more. Well, that wasn't by mistake.
Yes.
Everything about fishing is supposed to be the endless journey, right? You never quit learning, but you do if you go out and just your only thought process, in some ways it's impossible not to have it, but if your only process is to catch fish. Yeah. But if then your process becomes catch fish here and here, right, and I'm going to do it in two different styles, that's what our guys do. Yep. They don't, and we started with that in the beginning about people who just want to fish, right? Guides, that just want to row the river and throw. They're done. They're done, and you don't want to fish with people like that. That's why I fish with the Bill Erdmans of the world, right? And guys who fish gear. And because every time, I fished gear all my life. There it is. I didn't know how to do that. One more thing. And somebody wrote in once and said I was a glorified crankbait fisherman. And I said, God, hallelujah. Because that means I was a great crankbait fisherman. Hallelujah. Because I've learned a lot. That means you don't know shit, right? It means you don't know a freaking thing if that's your only thing.
It was like, oops, exposed yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't even know it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's the whole point. And we were talking about that at breakfast with you, that you like to do to learn and move forward and learn and move forward. Well, that's the whole premise of life. Yep. We're supposed to do that. But in fishing in particular, I have met many people, especially in the old days, 20 years ago, Their fly box consisted of about 6 flies.
Yeah.
And they were happy to go out. But then you thought, and then there's other reasons to fish. They just go out to get away.
Yeah.
You know, they just want to go out. They don't really give a shit. They're going to throw a dry fly the rest of their life. They don't care. They're just as happy.
Reasons to fish.
Yeah. But
what we like to focus on is getting better at it.
I like to focus on is being able to teach people how to get better at it. And so the only way to teach somebody is to have you have continuous success. If you have a fly that you fished once and it caught a fish and you take and tell everybody it's the greatest, you're full of shit. Because tomorrow it ain't going to be the greatest.
Yeah.
What are you looking at? Is there a hot chick over there? Or is it me?
I'm watching Tom Rosenbauer pull the line for small fish. In some
God, stop.
remote country.
They had a good video
I
on
can't
before.
watch it. I know he's a really nice guy. But,
Yes, he is.
he's throwing a Orvis Helios rod. Everybody knows how much I like
30% more accurate. 30% more
I
accurate.
threw, who had one in their boat the other day? Jonah. I went and fished with this kid, Jonah, fishy dude. He had one that we were throwing mice on, 6-weight. Throwing the mice over well. You know, it's not probably the best test of that rod, but it's a good rod. The marketing's bullshit.
That is the world right there.
Yep.
There's very few shitty rods.
Yeah.
They're really, truly, in this world, how do we digress? But in this world, the technology is the technology. It's not like somebody's got more technology.
Yeah.
It's such a crock of shit.
30%
One engineer's
more
got this,
accurate.
30% more accurate. God, everybody's got a great, and it's always been that forever.
If somebody makes a quantum leap, everybody else has it the next year.
Yeah. And when do you know it was a quantum leap, right? And how much has really changed?
Yeah.
Not.
All right, so back to the salmon fly
Digress.
thing. I think the third big thing I think about with salmon flies is movement. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. Darren, who's, by the way, an incredible caster. He was putting that fly all over wood. I mean, an inch away from it. And like you
pockets,
said,
yes.
he moves. What I noticed, and I'd like to see if you think the same thing, he skates his fly
right
more.
there. Go ahead.
Darren, you feel like you skate your fly more in slower water and do more dead drifting in faster water?
For sure, yeah. And depending on the condition and what's going on and what you're seeing from the fish throughout the day. I mean, we all noticed yesterday there were several times when I would make a big skate and stop, and that's when the fish would come and get it.
Yeah.
And then I had a couple eat it on the dead drift in really slow water. So it just kind of depends. But yeah, in general, that's exactly what I do is skate it during the
And it's about changing it up, right?
It is about
seeing what they
changing it up.
react to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I also think with big dries, if you're going to skate, they're not going to have so much time to look it over and think about it and decide, should I eat that? They're going to just grab it.
Right. Inspection time.
It's more reactionary.
Triggering a response, yeah.
It's it's like walking the dog for a year.
Yeah.
Nothing about that looks real. But they got to eat that something. If I had been said 100 times, I had 2 things I could fish the rest of my life. It usually probably be a frog, but on gear, or it'd be a spook, and I would walk the dog right into death. That would be lovely. If I tipped over dead with a fish eating a topwater bass bait, I would be just happy as a pig in shit.
Right.
You know,
Right.
in the fly world, if you can get it twitching a hopper, he's shitting me. What's better than that? That blow up, and then it's like you said though, it's back to that inspection time. There's just less of it.
Yep.
So,
So I think
time and a place though.
And when it comes to salmon flies, like you can try to mirror what you're seeing, you know. Early in the morning when it's cold, those flies are not moving much. You dead drift from them. Later in the afternoon, you know, they might be on the water laying eggs, flap around like crazy. But once again, this is just a starting point, right?
Yeah.
Like there's times where they're moving all over and they want it dead drifted. There's times in the morning where they want it
Well, you
skinned.
kind of nailed it on the beginning because the morning's always cold and bugs are slow. It's how many times, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. If it's cold, they're slower.
Yep.
Longer emergence times, less, you know, cooler, less humidity, whatever. The wings don't come up on a mayfly and it takes longer to emerge. You better be have enough observation to say, okay, this is what I do. Yep. Salmon flies are like catatonic in the morning. You can pick them up. They don't even, they're like Tin Man. Oral can.
It's kind of like your, it's kind of like Jacob, right?
Yeah,
Jacob.
that piece of shit. You can't move him. He's dead. And so, yeah, and then you get into a flight. Well, obviously, they hit the fucking water. They don't want to be on that. You know, they're laying eggs. They're like, holy shit.
We were talking
right?
about it the other day. Imagine how scary, I mean, I don't know if salmon flies think, but imagine how scary it would be to be on the water as a salmon fly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're a seal and there's orca whales.
Yeah.
in the water. Yeah. Coming for you.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I think a lot of big drives are that way. Like crane fly, same thing. They look like an airplane that can't quite take off when they're laying their eggs. So they're like, the brown's just like, wham!
Yeah. Yeah, it's the greatest.
The reactionary take. I mean,
Nothing's better than a crane fly. It's the greatest thing.
Yeah, we need to film another one of those this year.
Yes.
That's cool.
Did we film one?
With Brian Fletching. Remember? Crane flies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not that forgettable, Brian. Sorry. Sorry.
All right. Well, we need to go fishing, so this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. We've got timelines and weather and everything to account for, so
We're not doing another freaking 40-mile run.
19-hour float.
Holy shit. I thought we were friends. Fucker, he tried to kill me yesterday. Tried to kill me. I didn't even outfish him. Jesus.
So we don't have
It was a long
anything. Yeah, it was a long day. Long day for me too. Watching Kelly just put flies.
It wasn't all day.
No. But it was. There was like a.
There was a 3-hour window where I wanted to,
I was gonna say
tie the anchor rope around my neck and jump out.
there was a good like 13 minutes where I think you might have made 3 casts.
Well, then there was
double leaders.
and there was also one where I was just getting I would go like this with my rod and go to the other side of the boat and wrap it around James' head. It's like, whoops, sorry.
Sorry, Jason.
Jason, I mean.
yeah,
What did I say, James? Who's James? Jason.
So we don't have, obviously we're not in our desk, we're in Darren's shop. Thanks again. for
Beautiful
having us,
shop.
Darren. Yeah, great shop, great folks here.
What's the website?
WindRiverFloatTrips.com.
WindRiverFloatTrips.com.
We only have one mic, so Darren's not. We were going to do this all together, but camera boy.
Yeah, I didn't do my job. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
Funny.
great shop, great people. I mean,
Yeah.
really truly.
Come see the girls. They'll pick on you.
Yeah. they'll
Or
do
maybe
that,
they
yeah.
just pick on old people like me.
It is. If you're
They
looking
refused
for
my donuts. There could be a joke there.
I mean, if you're looking for a unique experience, when everybody claims they have one, there aren't that many truly unique trout fishing experiences left in the U.S. This is one.
And in particular, because we're on the res, there isn't 60 boats coming. And he runs this thing
there's
like,
one.
he runs this like,
There's
like you should.
it's one boat a day, right, Darren?
Correct.
In
Per
this
section.
Yeah, one
se-
boat per section.
Yeah, try that anywhere else.
Yeah.
Don't come to my lodge expecting that. Well, you could if you came in February. Hey, but you got to help push the boat over the 40 feet of snow
Yeah, you know
to
what?
get there.
If you come to our lodge and you complain about how busy the river is, come see Darren.
Yes.
Come see
Yes. That's why I always say it's my favorite fishery in the U.S.
No, I mean, it's truly a special deal. And since we're not in our desk, we can't do something cool behind the desk. We're just going to say, come look at all the cool stuff Darren has.
Okay, how about band of the week?
Band of the week.
Start.
Darren. You got a band? Band of the week.
What's your favorite band? Rock or country?
That's a good question. There's a, my
No,
wife,
you don't
when I
get
asked her
this
that
long.
Question, she,
You don't get this long. You got to say,
You got to go.
what's your wife's, oh, no, better yet, what's your wife's favorite band?
that's where I get this hesitation. She won't answer that question. She's like, well, so I'll just
What a
throw out
drag. I was
there.
hoping we could
I'll
put
just
you on the
go
hot
with-
seat. Now let's go with what you think your wife's best favorite band is.
Her best favorite band, I would say, is probably something like Nirvana.
Okay.
I can get behind
Now what's yours?
I'd probably go with either the Stones or AC/DC.
Good.
Nice. Good choices.
Mm.
What you got?
Who am I going to go with this
Don't you
time?
take mine.
I
We
think-
talked about
huh?
it in the car. Don't you take mine.
I don't like them.
Okay.
I do like them.
I'm going with the band.
Okay.
Katie Driftwood. It's a great tune. If you haven't heard it, give it a go.
I was really wanting to go with Ted again because it was his 50th anniversary of Stranglehold a couple days ago. Let's see. I'll go something way off. I like the Eagles. Haven't done the Eagles.
All right.
Man, I hate the Eagles. Don't play the Eagles.
I hate the fucking
I hate
Eagles.
the Eagles, man. Poof.
Get out of my cab.
Get out of my cab.
It's just your opinion, man.
It's just it's just your opinion. Don't piss on the rug.
Really tied the room together. All right. Well,
Yep.
thanks everybody. Hopefully that was informative and fun.
We were killing time a little bit because it was. I didn't want to fish in the rain, and it is clearing up per queue.
Yeah, the weather people cannot get it right.
That's all right. As long as I'm not freezing all day, I don't give a shit.
45 degrees, thunderstorms and rain.
Yesterday is supposed to be a high of what, 65? What do you think it was at the peak? 80?
They got at least 80.
80 at least.
Yeah, it was hot.
That's cool with me. I hope they're that wrong again today.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a short float though, so.
Well, thanks for watching. We're going to have some great content with Darren coming out. Bunch of other fly show stuff. Wretched Mess Festival. Mickey Wooten works for BSA. Get everything there. Salmon flies, go throw them. Don't know if you don't go.
You only got a week or 10 days left of the salmon flies by the time you see this, so get there and get it done. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, folks.
Thanks for watching.